seemed to begin to draw a little apart, each recapturing some virginal inner dream. Such elderly people as had not been driven home by the disappearance of sun from the last chair fearlessly exposed their years to the dusk, in a lassitude they could have shown at no other time. These were the English. As for the foreigners, some were so intimate with the music that you could feel them anticipate every note. Some sat with eyes closed, others, as though aroused by some unbearable movement inside the breast, glanced behind them or quickly up at the sky. Incredulity, as when waking up from a deep sleep, appeared once or twice in faces. But in most of them, as they continued to sit and listen, stoicism only intensified. A proportion of the listeners were solitary, and of the solitary, those who came every Sunday by habit could be told from those who had come this Sunday by chance. Surprise at having stumbled upon the music was written on the faces of first-timers. For many chiefly, the concert was the solution of where to be. One felt eased by this place where something was going on. To be sitting packed among other people was better than walking about alone. At the last moment, this crowned the day with meaning. For there had been moments, heightening towards the end, when the Sunday's beauty, for those with no ambition to cherish, no friend to turn to, no love to contemplate, drove its lack of meaning into the heart. There were those who had followed the others into the theatre automatically, and who asked nothing now they had sat down. You could observe one or two who had remained locked in some unhearing obsession. For instance, an Englishman in civilian clothes who had placed himself towards the outside end of a row halfway up the slope from the orchestra. On his left, a Czech soldier. On his right, a bare-headed woman wrapped in a coat, each spaced out from him by a vacant chair. This man's excessive stillness gave the effect not of abandon but of cryptic behavior. He sat body bent forward, feet planted apart on the grass floor, elbows lodged on his knees, insistently thrusting the fist of his right hand against and into the open palm of his left. His hat was pulled forward over his eyes. The concentration with which he frowned at his hands showed the music to be no more than a running accompaniment to his fixed thought. Unmistakably, he was waiting for something here. He would not change his position or go away until whatever it was had resolved itself. Sound, however, had become a necessary circumstance. Having begun to think in it, he could not think without it. Whenever a number ended in a ripple of clapping, he looked sharply up with an air of outrage and dislocation, as though the lawn had shifted under his feet. He would turn his frown sharply on the conductor, who, facing round at the audience, bowing, let his baton slowly fall to rest at his side, as though to say, "What are you doing? Go on." Then, in the early minutes of every interval, he would cast about at his neighbours a baited look, as though blaming everyone else there. That recurrent look of his, at first, directly encountered no other eye. Nonetheless, it had begun to be noted, to be wondered at, then to be lain in wait for. It was at last to be trapped. His right-hand neighbour opened her mouth abruptly. "That was number 7 they've just played." He at once looked distasteful the other way. "Like to look at my programme?" "No thanks," he said. Being accosted jerked him near enough to the surface to make him remember he had forgotten to smoke. He felt for his packet of cigarettes, lit one, let the match drop between his knees, then shifted one foot to stamp it out. All was done without looking her way. In a voice quick with injury, she continued, "All right, I just thought you might want to know." He replied by a pull on his cigarette and a prolonged gaze away past the Czech soldier. Behind the thicket at the far end of the row, the last silent crackle of sunset was going on. "I was not just speaking to you, if that's what you thought." "Did I?" "Oh, you did. Now I'm sorry I spoke." "Right. Then suppose we leave it at that." She watched him glance at his wristwatch, meanwhile feeling him calculate whether to move or not. But the